spectacular. It don't have to be nothing big. Honestly, it could be something small. It could be whatever it is. But it's a gift that you're giving her with no, listen folks, especially you guys, with no strings attached. You know what I'm talking about, guys. There is no, you buy her something because you love her, and you're buying something for her because you care about her, no strings attached. You know what she does? She catches up on that. She's going, wait a minute. What did I do to deserve this? I texted her one day. It's when I first started reading this and looking at it, and I asked her, I said, tell me 3 things that I do for you that tells you that I love you. I said, it can be anything. What is 3 things that I do for you that affirms to you just how much that I love you? And the 3 things, she actually done 4, but she gave me the 3, I'm thinking, that wasn't what I was thinking. So you know what that tells me? I was way off base. I was way off course. Why, fellas, do that to your wife. Say, look, and the wives, it's up to you too. Now, this ain't a one-sided deal. This ain't a one-sided street. Listen, women, do stuff for your husband. Guys, do stuff for your wives. Listen, they need that affirmation. Men needs affirmation too. When they went and worked all day and they come home and they need somebody to talk to or whatever, they need that affirmation of saying, hey, I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate what you do for me. Guys, you can buy them an open-end 3/4-inch socket wrench, and they good. Get them a hacksaw blade. They don't care. That's the way we're wired. Or you could just, fix some dinner one night. I mean, if your wife don't cook and she says, hey, I'd like to cook, let her cook. Because there's things that Jody cooks that I don't cook. I can't do it. But there's things that she does, and I like for her to cook. There's words of affirmation. There's gifts that she gives me, just whether it be on a card. And there's something else she does for me, and I'll do it for her. If she don't do it to me first, I do it for her. I send her a message every morning. Either I love you, thinking about you. She'll send me one, I'm love you, thinking. Listen, you're going to say this is corny, and it don't matter, but it does matter. You're going to say, well, that's for the young folks. No, if anybody needs it today, it's us older folks. Yeah. Because we've gotten to a place where we forgot about our wives, and wives has forgot about, because you've got in the motion. You don't think about these things anymore. You don't care about these things anymore because you're satisfied doing what you want. But then you get mad when there's nothing there. There's no spark. There's nothing there, and you're going, why don't she like me the way she used to? Why don't she talk to me the way she talked to me when I was 16 or 17 or 18? Why don't she do those things? Because you haven't talked to her that way since she was 16 or 17-year-old. She's just coming back to you. What she's doing to you is what you've been doing to her. Back and forth, back and forth. You need that affirmation. You need those gifts. Next, what is there? There's acts of service. Now, for most people's like, what in the world are you talking about? There is things that you can do for your husband. There is things that you can do for your wife. Like, for me, I don't like washing dishes. I don't like mopping. I'll vacuum. The biggest thing she gets on to me about is picking up my clothes. So if I go and pick up my clothes and put them in, and you're going to say, well, that's just stupid. I'm telling you, folks, these are acts of service because I'm doing something that I've always expected her to do. These are things that I've always expected her to do. These are things that I've sat there and I've said, you know what? She's going to pick them up, and she always has and always does. But now when she comes to the house and she sees them in the dirty clothes basket, she's shocked, wanting to know what I'm up to. What's his angle? What's he wanting? What's he need? But now, it's not like that anymore. Y'all know, I'm telling you, all the women's going, And not just picking up clothes. I cook at the house. I'm going to tell you that right now. When we're at the house, I do the cooking. I get off before Jody does. I come home. If ain't nothing laid out, I put something on. We cook. And that's just the way it is. But every once in a while, she does. There's acts of service I can do. Even though even though I don't like to wash dishes, I don't mind scrubbing them off a little bit and sticking them in the dishwasher for her. That's an act of service because she normally does it. What does your wife normally do that you don't do? And a lot of you women says a whole lot. Because I'm telling you what, even though, why? Why do we do that, guys? Why do we automatically take for granted and take advantage of the situations and listen, my wife's always done it, so she'll continue to do it. You know what? She might not. She might get tired of your tail. Yeah. She might just say, hey, I'm tired of picking up his clothes. I'm tired of fixing him supper. I'm tired of cleaning up. I go to work too. I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of doing that. Listen, it's up to us to show each other, women also, show your husband acts of service. What is something that your husband does or that you just, or whatever, but you can do for him as an act of service for him? I'm telling you, for most men, when wives automatically do that, they're in the back of their mind, they're going, man, I don't know. She's wanting something. I'm waiting on the time when she tells me what it is she wants. But when it gets to the point that everything changes, and I'm telling you, this is a cycle that takes some time. For one, it takes some trust. You've got to know, and it's hard to explain, but when you start this thing and you get on a relationship with your wives with your husband, you start doing these things and you start seeing stuff that you've never saw before. You automatically start doing things you've never done before. You come in and do things. She comes in and does things. And before too long, you know, things are different. All right, let me ask you guys this. When's the last time you held hands with your wife while going into a store? Why? We always just get out and take it for granted, you know, let's come on, let's go on in the store. Or how many times does your wife just come up to you while you're going in the store and grab your arm because she's not as embarrassed of you as you thought she was? But she grabs your arm anyway. And she walks on in there and you're going, man, I love this. Not saying a word. It's acts of service like that, things like that makes the difference. What else is there? This is another one that I think that as we get older, we forget about it, and it's quality time. Now, this is time where it's just you and your wife, or you with your husband or whatever. It's quality time. You know what quality time? That is time that you can't get back. That is stuff that no matter what's going on around you, it's always going to be you and her. The grandkids ain't going to be around. The kids are not going to be around. You set time up for quality time. This past week, we started date night. Man, we ain't went on dates in forever. Back, you know, before we started doing this, it was called, we just going to go out and eat. But now it's called a date. I want her to know that I'm going on a date with her. Why am I going on a date with her? Because she's my date. She's my wife. I'm not ashamed of her. Listen, I'll grab her arm, and that's how it works, you see, because we need that quality time together, folks. You need that quality time with your spouse. You need to know that hey, no matter what's going on, you got to listen. You got to sit and listen to her when she comes in from work and she wants to talk about her job. Listen to her. Even if you don't know what she's talking about, you may say, well, I honestly don't know what she's talking about. She's talking about stuff up in the office. It doesn't matter. She needs you to listen. Just like when you come home and you start talking all this gibberish and crazy talk like us guys do, your wife needs to be able to stop back and look and say, all right, what's going on in your life? Listen to you. That's quality time. This is time that you'll never, ever in your life ever get it back. You'll never get these things back. But you, as a wife and a husband, you can have these, and it can be nothing more than sitting in your den, your living room. Listen, you could be there and say, honey, you gonna play cards? That's quality time. You're not going doing your own thing. She's not doing her thing, but you're having quality time. Quality time, folks. That's what you need. That's what you need in a marriage. And I'm telling you, we take all this stuff for granted. And the things that we do, taking these things for granted because it's always been there, always been the same way. And I can tell you from experience, this stuff works. What else is there? Now, guys, when I say this, please don't go out in left field with this, all right? Because I know where your mind is going as soon as I hit there. It's physical touch. Now, some of you guys are like, oh, I know where you're going with this one. Yeah, man, brother, I'm going to go ahead and shout on this one. But that's not what it's talking about. It's not talking about the sexual activity in your life, and it's talking about physical touch. It's holding her hand, rubbing her neck, rubbing the back of her head when her head hurt. And you know what? And this is why what got me to doing this. When we was down with the coronavirus, her symptoms was way much worse than mine. Way much worse than mine. I just had a little bit of a headache, some fever, and mine was like the flu. It was like, but because she's got allergies, man, it attacked her, and she had headaches for days. And she would lay in the bed. She came in, I remember her coming in the bedroom, and when it was another one, I was in there doing something, and she came in there, and she laid her head right here, and she started crying. And at that moment, it's when it clicked. I couldn't do nothing for her. The only thing I could do was pray for her. And at that moment, I'm thinking, I would do anything and everything to keep her head from hurting right now. Why am I taking this for granted? She's here with me now. The here and the now. She could be gone tomorrow. I could be gone tomorrow. And we take these things for granted. I said, you know what? All I can do is pray. And I did. I sat there and I prayed for her. And I said, God, I can't take this stuff for granted anymore. I want to be different. And I'm going to tell you what, from day one, the devil started fighting. From day one, and he is still fighting today. The devil does not want you to have a relationship with your wife. He don't want you to have a relationship with your husband. Why? Because he knows that's the backbone of the church. Yeah. Marriages and families inside the church. But yet we've allowed these things to get out of our hands and go here and go there, and we've taken things for granted. We've took this for granted and that for granted. And everything that we do, you've took your wife for granted. You've took your children for granted. And listen, this relationship goes much deeper than that. Because now, because you're treating your wife better, you know who's seeing that? Your children. Your children are seeing mommy affectionate with daddy, holding his hand, going places. Kids need to see that, because when they get older, they ain't gonna know what to do when it comes to relationships. And right now, it's if you ask any teenager, whatever, it's just about the physical. It's all about the physical. No, it's not. It's about emotional. If you can't have an emotional relationship with a girl, if you're 15, 16-year-old, it's time to get out of that thing. Yeah. But listen, we talked about this thing and the relationships that matters. I've got a couple more that I had on here, but I'm not even going to get to them, because I think that what I'm talking about right now is so important as far as relationships with the marriages and what's going on inside the families. Listen, the family's being torn up right now. I'm going to tell you what, the devil is attacking families. He's attacking me. He's attacking you. And listen, just today, we found out that the same person that was attacking me and my wife didn't attack somebody else in the church. Come on, folks. Come on now. That's the devil. That's the devil. He's doing what he's going to do. Hey, and what do you do? You say, well, what do we do about it? You forgive that person. You forgive them. Because you still got to have, when you go down at night, sleep at night, you got to know that you're right with God. You can't have no animosity in your heart. You can't have no hatred in your heart. Everything that these persons have done or said to you, it does not matter, folks. We can sit and talk about them and all these things that's going on. It doesn't matter. We've got to get that relationship back with God the way that it should be. First, we got to make sure, listen, wives, it's up to you. I'm telling you, wives, right now, it's up to you to get that relationship right with God and say, listen, God, I'm going to do everything I can for you. I want to get that relationship right with you first. Say then, and you know what? That's why a lot of times we've got women here that don't have husbands that's coming to church. Why? Because the husbands don't feel like the relationship is right. It's out of order. But yet all you got to do is keep praying for that person. You keep praying for that person. Let that person know that you love them, that you still care for them, you're affectionate for them. You're going to do that. No, listen, even if they don't come to church, you still love them. If they don't come to church, you're still going to be affectionate. If they don't come to church, you're going to grab their hand. You're going to hold their hand. Before too long, they're going to see something different about you. They're going to see a love that only God can give. Listen, that's the kind of love, because you're wanting that so bad, you're willing to do whatever it takes to get that person to church. Guys are the same way. There's guys that come to church. It's more men than it is with women, but there's guys who come to church and their wives are at home and they don't want to come to church. Why? Just love them. Just keep loving them the way you always loved them. Keep being affectionate for them the way you ought to. Listen, all these things that we've talked about here, whether it be words of affirmation, whether it be gifts, acts of service, quality time, or that physical touch, it's going to take all those things in your life to have a successful marriage, folks. Some of you is in here tonight and you say, well, I'm not married, I'm young. Everything I just talked about, you're going to use one day. You're going to use one day. You're going to find somebody that you like, and then you're going to find out that you love that person, and you're going to say, I wonder how I can show that person without having a physical relationship with it. How can I show that person that I love them? How does that person know that I love them? And when you do that, when you got that relationship right with God, things are going to be made easier for you, I'm telling you, the whole time. The things that you need to do. I appreciate God. I appreciate what He's done in my life. And you know what? This goes so much further than just relationships. It goes in the church house. And the people that's coming to church, you know what? We don't know what people are dealing with when they come to church on Sundays. We don't have a clue. Because people comes in and they put on this face, this smiley face, and he's not here tonight. And every time I'm up here and I see her back there, she's bawling. There's so much hurt in her heart because of the love she has for her husband. And yet she's broken. Every I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what sermon or service we're in, she's broken. That is a heart of love. Listen, she loves God first and foremost, but she also loves her husband. Her husband sees that. He sees that when she comes home from church and fixes his dinner or whatever he needs to do. He sees all these things. Listen, we as a church, we need to come together and pray for these people that are coming to church, these people that don't have these right relationships. We as a church need to get that right relationship with God. If we got, listen, everything, I'm telling you, if we would do what we're supposed to, everything else would fall into place. Yeah. Okay. Me and Jody started this in November. Well, she didn't start it. I kind of just didn't tell her about it. The last of November. You know how many times we fussed? Since November? Let's see, December, January, February. 3.5 months. 0. We ain't got nothing to fuss about. I mean, as long as I give her money, she shuts up. She won't say nothing. She won't say nothing. But and you know what it comes from? That right relationship. That relationship that I expect her to have with God. And I'm not jealous of that relationship. A lot of guys are jealous of this. And I'm going to tell you what, jealousy will tear your family apart. Yeah. If you're jealous of your wife for no reason or whatever, I'm telling you, it's going to destroy your marriage. It will destroy your marriage eventually. But when you get to the place where you can trust your wife and everything's good, listen, you're not going to have